I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen. I believe that if somebody has questions, they can send it to who?
I'm sorry, put the questions in chat and Sharon will monitor them. I should have said that before because we just don't want everybody interrupting Karen while she's doing her presentation. So if you have a question, put it in chat and Sharon will be monitoring.
Thank you, Sharon. So let me share my screen. Okay, can everybody see it?
Yes.
Great. So just a little agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. We have different kinds of advocacy. We have common misconceptions. These are all things that I probably went through in the past, not in the near future, sorry, in the past. We're going to talk about the different steps that a bill goes through in order to become a law. I also have a list. It's grown a little bit since I made the presentation, but there are different bills that you can look out for. If you don't know where to start and you really want to support some of Representative Ramos's bills, this is a great list to get you started. And then we're going to talk about what we can do, how to prepare, and different websites that you can use to help out your advocacy. And then we'll have a little bit of time for a Q&A afterwards. And Sharon, if there's like a pertinent question, feel free to jump in and just interrupt me. I don't mind.
Okay.
All right. So as you guys already know, you guys are experts at writing postcards. You already know what advocacy is. You've probably been doing this for a lot longer than I have. But there's different ways that you can do it. You can make calls. Some of you have called their office. You can host meetings with your representatives and say, hey, like there's 8 of us that are your constituents and we really want to talk to you about this issue. Or there's 8 of us that really care about this one specific bill that's in your committee or that's in your, that's coming up for a vote. Can we have 15, 20 minutes of your time? You can send emails a lot. And one of the things that we covered in our last meeting, Sharon and Carol and I, was that they weren't really sure if emails really made a difference. And I will tell you why they definitely do. A lot of us are on Facebook nowadays, so social media is pretty big with getting to share the bills that we care about. Not only do we educate others, but we get to spread the word about the issues that we are concerned about or passionate about. And you can always share your story. And by sharing your story, I mean if you have a personal connection to any of the bills that we're going to talk about today, or any of the bills that are being laid out this session, you can contact the author. You can provide testimony. A lot of the committee hearings allow for virtual testimony. You can also provide a public comment during the day that the bill is being laid out, laid out means that it's being read in committee. So we'll talk about committees here in a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself, but all of that to say is that I think we're 5 for 5 of things that you can do from your couch. So the pandemic should be no excuse for you to really become engaged with the issues happening in our state ledge. It only happens once every 2 years. So the more attention that we can bring to the issues that we're passionate about, the better. So common misconceptions, oftentimes we start off doing advocacy with one specific organization about one specific bill, and they say, okay, we're going to take this trip down to the Capitol, we're going to talk to our legislators, we're going to make our voices heard. And so you come to the Capitol, or you make your call, or you send your letter, and you're like, okay, well, I did my part. It's up to my legislator to listen to the bill that I want to listen to, or that I want to advocate for, and they can either vote for it or against it, and hopefully, they vote the way that I told them to. And that's not really the case there, and I'll show you here in the next couple of slides. You can be active, and you should be contacting your legislator and different legislators at every point as the bill moves forward and goes and gets read in front of different groups, or if it moves over to the Senate, you want to get in touch with the Senate. If a Senate bill moves over to the House, then you start contacting the House again. Yeah, there's like 5 different touches that you can do for every one particular bill. And I'm talking about issues here in bill numbers because the way that we are able to track advocacy and the way that Representative Ramos sees your input is through a bill number. Now, my team and we pair up every letter with a bill number, but it saves us a lot of time if you just tell me right off the bat what bill number you're advocating for. And a lot of offices won't do that. They say, oh, this person's just advocating for healthcare extension, and they leave it at that. And then whenever their representative is getting ready to vote on the floor, they don't see their input because it's not attached to any specific bill. So we do want to be as specific as possible. A lot of times, people will contact your office with old bill numbers from the 86th session or the 85th session, and bills numbers change every single session. Make sure that the bills that you are sending us now are from the 87th session. Oftentimes people think that bills only have to go through one branch. They either go through the House of Representatives or they go through the Texas Senate, and then ultimately they meet at Governor Abbott's desk. And we know that that's not the case. House bills have to go through the Senate and then go to the governor's desk, and Senate bills have to go through the House and then to the governor's desk too. So for any particular piece of legislation, you should have your House of Representatives contact list and then your Senate contact list as well. There's also, I think, a pretty big misconception out there that all members vote on every single bill that gets laid out, and that that unfortunately is not true. And so we'll see a lot of advocacy from individuals that are like, we'll take HB6, right? So we're all familiar with HB6. It's a big voter restriction, a hot mess of a bill. And so it was last week, it was heard in the elections committee, and we had a lot of people contact their office, and they told us that they were against that bill, and as please tell Representative Ramos to vote no on HB6 and SB7. And I was like, great, yeah, of course, I'll take down your information. And they gave me a bill number, and they gave me their address, and they gave me their name, which is all of things that I need in order to put in their information and make sure that the system shows Representative Ramos that. But the thing is that there isn't much action that Representative Ramos can do for HB6 until it gets voted out of committee. So a lot of that advocacy was really misplaced, because I think if it had gone to the elections committee or to the author, Chairman Briscoe Kane, then, he might have felt a little, he could have felt that pressure a little bit more, and hopefully thought twice about what he was doing for this bill, with this bill. And so we'll go through the steps right now. If you're a little lost and you're like, what is she talking about, committees? Like, what is, I'll explain. Okay, so when a new bill is filed, it has to be numbered and it has to be read in front of the whole floor, and then it gets assigned to a committee. Okay, there's over 20 committees. They range from public education to natural resources to public affairs to there's a veterans affairs committee. There's all kinds of different committees, and each bill should fit into one of those categories. And only the Speaker of the House can refer a bill to a committee. Okay, so even if a bill was submitted or was filed, let's take in the 86th session, it's going to be a different bill number in the 87th session, and it might switch committees. So just because something was public health this time, it might be public affairs next time. So we really have to be careful there and not just assume. There is a website that I've linked onto this presentation that where you can look up bills and it'll tell you what committee it's been assigned to. So once a bill is assigned to committee, then the chair of that committee, the big boss of the committee, gets to decide if they want to hold a hearing for the bill and then hold a vote on it. And most of the time, from what I am seeing here in the House now, is that authors will request hearings for bills that they know they have enough votes to pass. So if a bill has no chance of passing, everyone on the committee is against it, chances are you're not going to get a hearing. And I think that that's kind of to maximize their time because they have a limited amount of time in the committee. But if it fails here, if it doesn't pass, or if the bill that you care about doesn't get a hearing, then there's nothing else we can do about it. And the bill is just gonna die right there and then. The whole floor isn't gonna hear it. It's not gonna go over to the Senate, and it's never gonna make it to Governor Abbott's desk. Now, just because a bill dies in committee one time does not mean that it's done for good. A lot of the times, bills take several sessions to pass and make it through. And so it's just about like diligence on the committee side on like what their priorities are and what issues they want to push forward. Is everybody still with me? Those of you who have your cameras on, can I get a little thumbs up? Thank you. So once a bill is in committee, who do you contact? Do you contact your state rep? No. You contact the people who are in the committee that your bill is in. Okay? You want to tell them that you're contacting them because they're in that committee, and you want to contact them and tell them to either hold a hearing, to vote yes, or to vote no. You always want to advocate with an action. You don't just say, I support HB3. You want to say, I support HB3 and I want you to vote yes. Okay. Do we have any questions so far, Sharon?
I think we're good right now.
Okay, cool. So just like I said earlier, at this point, you want to contact your state representative to show support. And that if a bill makes it out, then that support will still be kept on record. But you should also really be focusing your attention towards contacting the committee that your bill is assigned to. Now, in this presentation, I linked all of the committees. So if you click it, it'll show you all of the different House committees. And I don't know how to go back to, there we go. Can you guys still see the presentation? Okay, great. All right, so let's say that our hypothetical bill is the perfect bill. There is no opposition. Everybody loves this bill. Everybody supports it from both sides. It's the only thing that brought everyone together this session. It's great. Everyone's for it. And it passes unanimously out of the committee that it was in. Then it goes to another committee. It goes to the calendars committee, where it waits to be scheduled a hearing for the whole floor. And the calendars committee is super important because it's often an overlooked piece of the legislative process. And it's honestly where a lot of bills die. It's kind of like a funnel for all of the bills that get voted out of committee. There are too many bills that are getting passed out and not enough slots, if we want to call them that, for them to be heard on the general House floor and then be voted on. So if you really care about the bill, if your author or your representative or your advocacy group is really fighting hard for this bill, then one of the things that you must do is contact the calendars committee and contact them again and say, hey, my name is Karen Quintero. I live in House District 102, and I really love HB3. I think it's good for X and Y reasons, and I need you to schedule a hearing for this bill. And the more public pressure that there is, the more likely that a bill will get scheduled. And it's during this step too that a lot of politics come into play here. You know, I don't know for a fact, and I'm not going to speak for anybody who is in the calendars committee right now, but if you were on the calendars committee, would you try to schedule your friends' bills that you might agree with, or would you try to schedule, you know, the bills for people that you might not really like, and you know, you don't really care about their legislation, or it completely opposes your beliefs? You know, like, draw your own conclusions there. If our bill gets out of the calendars committee, then it gets a calendar date. The whole House is going to hear the bill. They're going to debate the bill. They can provide amendments. They can, and then they can vote on the bill. If after we contact the calendars committee and it moves on and it gets a full floor hearing, then that's at this point you contact everybody. You contact your representative, you contact your neighbor's representative, you contact your mom's representative, your daughter's representative, like anybody and everybody is fair game at this point, because everybody's going to be voting on the bill. So it doesn't really matter who you contact. You want to let them know that you're contacting them because you know that it's going to get a full floor hearing, and you know, like, it doesn't matter that they're not your representative. You just want them to know your opinion as a Texan.
Karen, there was a question that's
Okay.
asked if is it more effective to contact the calendar committee by email or regular mail?
Email. Sometimes things move a lot quicker than we think they do. And so email is going to be the quickest, fastest way for you to have your voice be heard.
Hey, Karen, one more question at this stage.
Mhm.
Where is redundancy filtered out? If you have 20 people filing a bill that's, you know, very similar on a specific issue, I'm guessing it's much more efficient to have one bill, but where does that get sorted out?
That gets sorted out in the committee, in the first committee hearing. The chair will choose which bills will get hearings, and normally, actually, we had it happen this session already, where Representative Ramos and another representative were laying out a bill that was very similar. There were minor difference in it, but they both got hearings. And so I think that one or the other moves forward, but I could be wrong. It really is up to the chair to kind of filter through them, and they're not going to give the same bill to hearings, and unless, you know, there's very special circumstances. And just so you guys know, it is common for a bill to get filed multiple times with different authors.
Would they eventually sign on to the same bill or just carry it by vote?
It depends on each individual. I really hope so. I really hope so. I think, you know, it would show solidarity. It would be, you know, a good-natured thing to do, but, you know,
Thanks.
everybody decides a little different. Okay, so then we went through a bill getting read and assigned to committee, then it gets placed in committee, and then it gets placed in the calendars committee, and then it gets read in front of the whole House. If a bill makes it through all of those steps, then it has to start all over again in the Senate and go through that process all over again. If we made it through the Senate, if we made it through the committee in Senate, if we made it through calendars in the Senate, if we made it through a full vote in the Senate, then it has to start all over in the House. And the process begins again. And there's a really detailed diagram here that you can access, and I'll send this presentation to Sharon and Carol. I don't know if you guys already have it, but I'll send it again so that they can share it with you guys in case you want to refer back to it, or you want to follow along with any of the links that I attached on here. There's a lot of really helpful information. And
Yeah, I think the links would be especially helpful. Yes.
yeah, and everything's linked. So, and if you have any questions, I added my contact info so you guys can just reach out, and I'll walk you through the process. So I mentioned earlier that Representative Ramos had a bunch of bills referred to committee already. She actually had all of her bills referred to committee already, and all of the bills that were submitted have been assigned to committee. So where I'm standing, it's a pretty big feat because I know there was thousands of them, literally. So I was very happy to see that happen. And so different, let's see, here's 1144, HB 1144, and HB 1248, which were the bills, sorry, 1144 and 1249, which were the two bills that were heard in the Public Education Committee today. If you are passionate and want to look up these bills, please feel free to. I'm a little biased, but I think all of these bills are really great and would make amazing additions to our state and really benefit all of us. If you have specific things that you care about, you can also look up bills by keywords. And so sometimes the system isn't as savvy as we are. And so if we, I don't know, if we want to look up bills that are about cars, if we type in car, it might not pop up, but if we type in automobile, it might, or vehicle, right? So just try different words, try different combination of words, and you might find what you're looking for. Again, if you need some help during this process, feel free to give me a call. I would be more than happy to help you search and find exactly what you're looking for. All right, so we went through the whole process of how a bill becomes a law already. I'm feeling a little schoolhouse rock. But in order to make it relevant to today, we can talk about the things that you can do in order to prepare so you can hit the ground running whenever you're ready to like form a full-fledged campaign, full-fledged advocacy campaign. So the things that you will need for sure for any bill is going to be a list of the committee members that are in the bills that you care about. You can also find bills through committee. So if you're passionate about a specific subject, if you're passionate about, about public safety, you can look at all of the bills that have been referred to public safety, to the Public Safety Committee. If you're passionate about public health, then you can look up all of the bills that have been referred to the Public Health Committee and kind of filter them that way. Or you can do it by keywords, or you can do it by, you know, your favorite state representative, which we all know is Representative Ramos. You also want the calendar committee. You want to have a list of everybody that's on the calendars committee and their emails and their chief of staff's emails if possible, or their district emails. And I have it linked in one of the previous slides, so make sure you look through those. You also want to have a list of the full House of Representatives, because after it leaves the calendars committee, who are we going to contact? Everybody. And so it's a lot easier if you already have a list and you just copy all of the emails, paste them in your in your to bar whenever you want to send out an email, and then you can send it out. And then you want to do the same thing for the Senate. You want to find out who's in the, once your bill crosses over, or if you're following Senate bills, you want to get all that information for the Senate and then move them over to the House, their House equivalents. It's also important to have your messages ready, especially if you're going to be asking others to join you in your advocacy. You want to make it as easy as possible to have somebody be a part of your campaign. And if you already have your message drafted, then all they have to do is essentially just copy and paste, input their own personal details, and send it out. If you ask me to write a letter, I am more likely to send it out if you already give me the contents of the letter and I agree with it. So, and remember to be timely about your messaging. Like I said, sometimes stuff in the House moves very quickly. Sometimes it moves painfully slow. But whenever it moves quickly, you want to make sure that you're addressing the right part of the House or the right part of the legislature. You wouldn't contact your House representative after a bill has left to the Senate. You wouldn't contact the Senate if the bill is still in the House or it already made it out. Does that make sense? Okay, great. So here's an example of a letter that I got. This is a real letter from last month. And I want you guys to notice the clarity of what they're asking. So right off the bat in the subject, they're telling me what they want Representative Ramos to do. They want her to co-author these bills. Now, I don't have to agree with the message. I don't have to support the message. It is my job as part of the constituent relations team just to catalog that information and make it accessible to my boss. So we are not, we're not here as constituent relations or constituent services to judge and pick and choose what we put forward. So that's why it's really, really important that if you are passionate about something, even if you think it's common sense, please email about it, because that's a way for our representatives to see what what the district is actually asking for. Let's say that we really want to expand Medicaid, right? Like, I think that's something that everybody in this call can agree on. We need to expand Medicare. How many of us have emailed Representative Ramos to let her know that you want her to expand Medicare? None of us. Well, Sharon has done it. But then again, Sharon and I talked already, and she knew that it was important to do so. If Representative Ramos is on the floor and she is going to vote whether to expand Medicare or not, and she goes to look in the system to see if any constituents wrote about expanding Medicare, and 3 people wrote that they do not want to expand Medicare for whatever reason, they just wanted to make their voice heard, Representative Ramos is going to see that the majority of the input that she got was negative. And so I'm using Medicare expansion because that's a very easy topic to talk about, and it's very easy for us to agree on it. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different subjects and topics that all have bills. And so sometimes, there are these pretty obscure things. And if only a certain part of the population writes strongly about how they feel, then Representative Ramos is really going to consider that because that's what her district wants. But then, that 3% is being loud and clear about what they want. But what she doesn't see is that a whole 97% of the district does not agree with it, or they do agree with it. And she's only seeing the part that chose to speak out about it. So contact, even if you think, oh, well, I know Ana Maria, she totally supports this. Yeah, she totally supports it, but she'll feel a lot better voting on it if she has your support. if you wrote in and you told her, Maria, this is the move. Representative Ramos, this is the right choice right here. I'm gonna tell you why. She looks through all of that stuff. We print her all of the emails that you guys send in every week. Any message that she gets on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on whatever, we print them out and we make a list for her and we say, hey, Representative Ramos, this is what everyone in the district is saying. This is what everyone in social media is saying. So it makes a difference. At least I can speak for our office, it 100% makes a difference. You also, okay, so now I got a little bit sidetracked, talking about the letter that you want to send out, okay? You want to be very clear about what you want the representative to do, what kind of action you want them to take, the bills that you want them to take action on. You want to add a personal story, right? Why is it important to you? And then you also want to include your name, your address, and a good either phone number or email. And see, they ask 3 times, please co-author, please co-author, please co-author. All right, so there are, and if you can see at the bottom of this letter, you can see this letter was prepared by One Click Politics at www.oneclickpolitics.com. One Click Politics provides online communication tools for blah, 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 blah. There are lots of sites like this. I highlighted 3 right here that make it super easy for you to upload your template onto a website. And then all your friends, family, loved ones, coworkers, supporters, allies, fellow group members have to do is click on a link, fill out their few key personal details, and it sends it for them. Super, super easy. And when we talked, Sharon, we talked about resist bot, right? Yeah, that's the one. Every time I've talked about, I've done the Advocacy 101 presentation, everyone really, really loves resist bot. So that's the one that has gotten the most support so far.
Yeah, I think some of the big ally groups or the big organizations like League of Women Voters and Moms Demand Action, you know, regularly send these type of forms, and I've been using those, but I was wondering if it was as effective as, like, you know, me personally drafting something. But you're saying it's counted as another yes or another no, so in effect it is.
Yeah, exactly. And Representative Ramos is really special in the way that she wants to see every single letter and every single email, and we deliver. We definitely do give her that. But for most representatives, all they see in the system is like yay or nay or on. So it's really up to you what you want to do. Of course, if I see something that is you know, heartfelt, and I know that one person wrote it, I respond to everybody, but my response to those emails is always a little bit lengthier and it's always a little more personal. In the way we see it in our office, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to take the time to draft out this letter, then we're going to take the time to draft out a response that is worthy of your time and effort. And if you send us the like a mass letter, we still respond, and it's still like us hand typing every single email that we sent out, but it's going to be a little bit more generic and just say something along the lines of thank you so much for contacting your state representative and letting us know how you felt. You know, we'll take this into consideration and let Representative Ramos know of your opinions for this issue. All right, so does anybody have any questions?
There was one question on here about resist bot. It doesn't go through Facebook, does it?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And you answered the effectiveness question, and you gave us a link to the committee chairs and members. And that has the email address and phone number.
Okay, so let me show you guys a little trick. If you see my name is Karen Quintero. My email is karen.quintero@house.texas.gov. It's the same for the member. First.last@house.texas.gov. Their district emails are district number dot representative last name at house.texas.gov. And I'll show you guys what that looks like in just a second. Okay. Can you guys see the committees page?
Yes.
All right, so let's take, we talked a lot about calendars. Let's talk about calendars. Here are all of the representatives who are on the calendars committee. And what happens if we click on their page? We can see their phone number, which might be important if you're doing over the phone advocacy, but we don't really find their email. If I click the email, it's not really gonna give me their address. It's just gonna give me a form that I have to fill out. What you can do whenever you're in this page to maximize your time, and I will add it into the chat here if I can figure out how. Oh, I don't think it's giving me the option to type in the chat, but I'll stop sharing my screen for a minute. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the chat and I'm gonna take Chair Burrows, right? It is pretty safe for me to assume that his email is going to be dustin.burrows@house.texas.gov. I also know that he's from District 83, so I can assume that his district email is district83.burrows@house.texas.gov. Can everybody see the chat?
Yes.
And then you can just go back, look at the Vice Chair Moody, and then, oh, okay, well then his email must be joe.moody@house.texas.gov, and he's from District 78, so his district email is gonna be district78.moody@house.texas.gov. And then you just go through like that for everyone.
So you're telling us two different email addresses, one to him and one to the office?
Yes.
And what's the best one to use, or both?
You wanna use both.
Both, okay.
Yes. Sometimes, well, most of the time, staff is in charge of the district email and the member hardly sees it, but the member will almost always check their own email. So you want to make sure that the office finds out about your advocacy, because then us as staff can input the information super quickly, respond, and move along. And have your message catalog, right? We save it, we print it, we put it into our system. If you contact the member, they might send it over to staff so that they can respond to you, but they're gonna have to look at it for a couple of seconds for them to do that. So you're already sending out the message. You might as well hit two birds with one stone.
And then for the Senate, you just replace House with Senate?
I want to say yes, but let me double check on that and I will let you know by tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I'll try to make up a list for everybody of all of the addresses. It just seems like it should be easier, to make contact. than to go, oh, I think it's this, there should be some sort of a list on the website, but.
There should be, but they really do not make it easy. And these are emails that are not published.
Wow.
So I'm just telling you guys because I'm here, I'm on the inside, I know what they look like.
Mhm. I noticed that these emails I've been sending through League of Women Voters, I just have to put my address and it automatically goes to Representative Ramos and Senator Johnson's address. And I always get an automated response. It's been the same for whatever bill I sent the email from Senator Johnson. I guess I just know that he received it, but. And how about mail? Because I had done postcards for Medicaid expansion with that Sick of It group.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
I was going to ask her because I think every.
Did you guys do these postcards?
Yes, I did
Yeah.
those anyway, but it's, you should have one in there from me.
Yeah.
But the address was the same for everybody. The PO box, I think it was. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the address. And I mean, we got them, so it worked.
Good, good. Yeah, one of the reps sent me an email because I put my personal email address on all of them. So just another way to let them know you're for real, right?
Yes, and for these, I will say that we got these in the very beginning of session. And so we were trying to set up everything. We were getting used to being here in the office. We were training our team. We were getting used to the new systems and the new protocol. And so we input all of these into the system, but we did not send out responses. So you might not have received a response from us, but rest assured, I mean, we have them there. I knew exactly where these were because we keep everything super organized. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be great I talked to Carol about this, about some sort of postcard, our own postcard where we were able to send them out quickly, to folks depending on the issue. But I know things go really fast at the end. Is it best to use the MyTLO? I think you have that linked on there, to do the bill alerts, because where I'm struggling is with thousands of bills, being channeled through the system, and it's tough to know where things are, at what point they are. Is it best for individuals to make their own bill list based on their interests and set up an alert to get those messages like when they're in committee?
Yes, so you can do bill alerts, or you can also call your representatives and we can do a really quick search and tell you exactly where a bill is. We do have a couple of constituents who call us on a weekly basis. One of them whom I spoke to today, and the bill that he is very concerned about hasn't left committee. It hasn't had a hearing yet, so we haven't had a lot of movement for him. But it's one that I already know Mr. Coleman's gonna call, so I'm just gonna track it just in case. And sure enough, this morning when I came in, I had a voicemail from him. So I was happy to have that information ready for him, and it builds rapport with the office too.
Yeah, the other thing, is there a way for us to get some sort of alert other than calling you, which we can do, on bills that are important to Representative Ramos, for us to send the messages out in support of her?
I haven't heard her specifically say that she is valuing one bill over another for the ones that she filed this session. I think all of them are very near and dear to her heart. And with this session being the weirdest session, I think, in all of Texas history, she really picked things that are special to her. And so any of the 35 bills that she laid out, she would be ecstatic to receive support on.
Okay.
Especially the 3 that were laid out today, they're going to be up for vote next week. So if you guys want to reach out and just send a quick email, a quick message to the public ed, and the other bill was in,
Homeland Security. Yeah.
no, it was, hold on, I have it right here.
Wasn't 1141 or
Sorry,
40?
I'm blanking.
That's okay. You've had a long day.
I've been here since 7:30 this morning, so everything's blurring together by this point. Okay, human services. It was HB 3686. It went to the Human Services Committee, and it relates to the investigation of alleged exploitation of elderly people.
Okay.
Is it possible you could send us like information on when, I know that she posted on Facebook, but sometimes Facebook doesn't show it to you timely when it chooses what it's going to show. Is it possible you could send like Sharon notices of when her bills are going to be in what committees, and then we could ask people to advocate for them?
Yes, I can do that.
Or
Yeah,
is that
I'll make a notice. I can just send a quick text. Or
I'm going to jump here for a minute. Since I send out most of the notices to our members, if you and Sharon and Carol can coordinate, and anytime she's got something she wants our members to jump on right away, let us, through them, let me know, or they can set it up as well to get our mass emailing out, because we've got a pretty good sized mailing list and we do have a lot of people that advocate. So of course we will, within the board, figure out how to do that, but if we can keep that in mind.
yeah, if you guys give me one good phone number, it takes me all of 5 seconds to send a text that just says, hey, Representative Ramos bill HB 1144 is going to be heard in public ed on Tuesday. And then you guys, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good. I'll send you mine and you can text it to me and
Sounds good.
we'll get some action going. Things are going to start to speed up quickly, right?
Things are already speeding up, and to be honest with you guys, I'm not sure if I can keep up. It's a lot.
It is a lot. Well, we know you have busy days and we appreciate everything you're doing and that you spent some time with us.
Of course. I don't feel tired anymore talking to you guys. This is fun for me. This is this is one of my favorite parts about working here.
That's awesome. Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, I just had one question, and that was when you said to send your letter, your email, whatever, you want us to duplicate it both to, for example, Dustin Burrows and to District 83?
Yes.
Okay, so it won't be considered like padding it or anything. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure I understood. Thank you.
When are you going to post a copy of this presentation?
I can send it to Sharon right now.
Yeah, I think
as soon as we're done with the call.
has it changed from the last time? Okay, I
Okay, let me jump in.
have it. I'll send it to Lena and
Did
then
we
Lena
have all
can
the
send it out on
links
our.
working the last time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
We're all working.
we will be posting this video on YouTube tomorrow. And I send out, as long as you're on our mailing list, I'll be sending out a notice and the link so that you can get it. So make sure you're signed up for the NDTDW.com email mailing list.
These addresses and links go so fast, I can't keep up with them, and so I can't sign up for them.
What addresses do you mean? Just love it.
If you go on to NDTDW.com,
NDT NDTDW.
.com.
That's,
You
that,
can sign up for emails.
that takes you to the front page of our website, and at the bottom of that first page, there is a form. You just put in your email address in and you get automatically put onto our list.
Barbara, does that answer your question? It's Barbara Stone says, where do I send requests to get added to list for notices of what bills are up so I can send emails? Because we're going to do that through our
Mailing list.
distribution list. Great.
If you go on that same page, NDTDW.com, there's also an email, info@ndtdw.com, or my personal email is on that page. So if you have any questions, you can contact me, or you can use the generic contact.
Okay, thank you.
So do you have any big news we need to know about what's going on that we need to be, on guard for?
I do. Thank you so much for reminding me, Sharon. This Friday, we will be doing a vaccine outreach event at Richland College from 4 to 6 p.m. And we are looking for volunteers. I think, well, if you're vaccinated, that's great. If you're not vaccinated yet and you need an appointment, let me know so that we can get you on the list. We've been working alongside Dallas County to make sure that we'll be able to get vaccine appointments for those who come through to the event. So if you want to attend, please come by and visit me. I would love to meet you in person. Keep from a safe distance, of course. And if you are vaccinated and you would love to help, we would love to have you send Sharon, Carol, or Lena an email, and they can give you my contact information so that I can get you signed up so that you can volunteer. It'll be 2 hours from 4 to 6, and you'll just be helping people get registered to get vaccinated.
So this is on Friday from 4 to 6?
Friday from 4 to 6, yes, at Richland
Where
College.
is it? Where is
At
it?
Richland?
Okay.
Hey, Karen. Hey,
Yes.
it's HB6 is the one that's so devastating to voter rights, right? Okay, well, obviously, we really would like Representative Ramos to see what she can do about not letting that pass. That's really important.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's actually one of the bills that, alongside SB 7, have been one of the bills that we have gotten the most community support for. A lot of people have been speaking out against it. So yes, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's a bill that is
Oh my God.
at the top of Representative Ramos's
Yeah, it's
list
terrible.
of priorities right now. And our whole office is just, we watch the elections hearings as if they were our own committee, because it's such a big deal.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I feel overwhelmed. When we started our grassroots organized, I know this group's been around for a long time, but I found you after the 2016 election, when I decided I needed to get engaged and be a leader, in the community for the Democrats. So I thought it was all about getting our candidates elected, and we work so hard, we do, to get our candidates elected. I live in 114, so John Turner is my representative. And I love all that work. I didn't know we were going to have to be advocates too, and to know where these bills are. Oh Lord, I feel totally overwhelmed.
But we will try to provide some guidance on where the bills are for people, and things like that, so that we can help you with this. But we just thought people were so good at doing postcards and things like that, and we were looking for a way to keep people engaged. So we thought that this might be a good project.
It's a great project. Yeah. So these, just knowing how to figure out somebody's email address that's not a public email address, that was great information, Karen. So we should let our neighbors know. I mean, for me, it's John Turner. So I will figure this out for John Turner and Nathan Johnson, and I will let my neighbors know, send them emails about HB6, you know, tell them specifically which bills that we want to support and why and all that. I think I can figure out how to do it. Thank you, Karen. This has been a very meaningful presentation. I wish more people were here to hear it. So we have to put the word out, like how to actually advocate and what's meaningful. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Of course, I'm happy to be here. And oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when we put out these emails, I always do the best I can to include the links that you need to get you to where you need to go. So watch for that on the emails and make sure you sign up and look in your spam box if you don't get it right away, because I've had people show up there. And please don't accidentally unsubscribe, because then it's real hard to get you subscribed again.
Yeah, I think one other really good tip is if you are passionate about a specific issue, like if it's women's health care or something like that, to go to the Planned Parenthood website and sign up for their alerts, because they will send you these emails and says, take action now. And literally it's a click of a button, and you'll put your address in, and it'll immediately populate the addresses for your representatives, and the form is pre-filled, and or the email, and frequently you can say personalize it, like you can add your little thing at the end if you want, and boom, it goes off. So Sierra Club, if you're into the environment, League of Women Voters, if it's voting, and voting, women's health, Moms Demand Action for gun safety, and they make it easy, you know, and not that we can't do our own, but you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel for every one of these hot button issues that people are thinking about. I get a little bit concerned about all the kind of, I want to say they're obscure bills, but they impact a lot of people, and it's really hard to read the text. I mean, I've been practicing, you know, going through and reading bills, and it's really hard to read these and edit, lots of edits in them and stuff, to really know what the real meaning, the true meaning and impact of that bill is. So a lot of those advocacy groups will do that work for you. Progress Texas is another one, AARP. I mean, you know, depending on what it is that your issue is. I'll try to get some websites together for that too.
And here's another little tidbit. Every bill, if it gets a committee hearing, the office will have to prepare a one-pager. And so you can call the author's office and say, hey, do you have a one-pager on HB6? Could you please send it to me? And that has a little bit more information about what, if it's changing the code, what part of the code it's changing into what and why, and give you some more information about what the author, what their mindset was whenever they're proposing this bill.
And I just would like to share a story that Karen shared with Sharon and I when we saw this before, and that was a bill that was up, I think it was one of Representative Ramos's bill on military being able to get married on Zoom, not, you know, necessarily having to be in person. And, you know, normal people went up and testified, and there were some people, there was a person who was against it at the end of the line, but after hearing the personal stories of people who were in favor of it, he decided not to testify, he or she, I don't know, but against. So they're not smaller bills per se, but on some of the, you know, like some of these other bills, you can really make a difference by being in support of it or not. And as Karen was saying, you know, there are a lot of bills out there, and on some of them, you know, you're saying you're for it or against it could make a difference for, you know, how Representative Ramos thinks about it, when it's not one of these big ticket bills. I mean, everybody knows how they're against all these election bills, and they know they're for Medicaid expansion and things like that. But there are other things that affect people's lives a lot that you can advocate for.
Now I'll give you guys like another really quick story. One of the bills that I've been personally tracking this session has been HB 2029. And essentially what it does is allow for a broader scope of practice for nurse practitioners. And so it would allow them to work without the supervision of a doctor. And I personally have, I see a nurse practitioner, I don't see an MD or a doctor, and I get the most amazing care that I've ever had, that as far as I can remember. And so it's something that I'm tracking just because I have my nurse practitioner in mind, and we have a couple of nurse practitioners in our district who have been fierce advocates for this bill. And so it's been very interesting to see how it really, it's a 50-50 battle. It's an obscure bill. A lot of people are really paying attention to the scope of nurse practitioners. But we have like the doctors associations, they're against it. And they're like, no, I don't want nurse practitioners to have a broader scope of practice because they don't have enough experience. And, they're not trained. And if I only had the same hours of practice that they had, I would not feel comfortable without a supervising doctor. And then you have nurse practitioners who are like, well, actually, that's not true. We get a ton of practice hours. We are trained to work independently. And Texas is less than half of the states who still have nurse practitioners practice under a supervising physician, because a lot of states already don't do it. And not only that, but doctors are allowed to charge nurse practitioners to work under them, even if they don't really provide any sort of assistance. Because like I said earlier, a lot of nurse practitioners, if not all nurse practitioners, are trained to practice independently. So that's one of those bills that it's like, it really depends on where we get the most information from and what makes the most sense to Representative Ramos, because it's cut, 50-50. Personally, I'm for it. I think it would allow ease of access to a lot of people to have more care, especially in rural areas. But then again, there are a lot of people who oppose it, and they're like, no, that's really a doctor's job, and that should only be a doctor's job. And that's a respectable position too. So that one is going to be really interesting to see where it goes.
What was that number again? What was that bill number again?
HB 2029.
Yeah, that was so funny because I heard from a nurse practitioner when I was poll grading in 2020. And then like 2 days later, I got an email from a physician. So she was asking me to support that, and he was asking me to oppose it.
Yeah.
But they had, different, reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them did make sense. So
yeah, it's really interesting. It's not something that I thought I cared that much for. And now that I'm here, I'm like, no. Like, please explain it to me a little further, because I need to understand why you feel this way about the bill. So, I mean, yeah, it's just.
But what has the research been from the various states that have opened it up to NPs without supervision? There must be some feedback to bring before the Senate and the House.
Yeah, there is a lot of feedback. And I think the author, Chairwoman Stephanie Click, out of Fort Worth, has a lot of that research. I don't personally have it in front of me because it's just something that I'm curious about and learning about. So I don't have that data for you, Ms. Wolfman.
I would presume that it's in favor of the NPs working independently.
I'm sure they have both, because whenever we are working on bills, we have to become familiarized with the opposition as well, to prepare rebuttals and to make sure that we have our bases covered on any sort of criticism that any opposition might have. So we
Right.
do our due diligence on both sides. And I would assume the same for her office.
Great, thank you. Thank you for everything.
Of course, thanks.
So Karen, I do think one thing you sort of said to us, that if you're going to target one group, that like the calendars group was the most important, to make sure that if a bill has gotten out of committee, that it actually gets a hearing.
Yes, exactly. Like I said earlier, that's where most of the bills die, and they don't die because they don't have support. They die because they run out of time. They just don't get scheduled.
Well, hopefully all the bad ones will run out of time.
Fingers crossed, right? There's only so much catastrophe that I can take in 1 year. And I think we all lived through enough last year.
That's great.
Well, does anybody else have any questions?
We now have your email address and your phone number, so we can look you up if we have more questions, right?
Yes, and I'll put it in the chat once more just in case. Oh, and then our phone number too. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so are we ready to shut this down, Carol?
I think so, if nobody has any questions. I'd like to thank you a lot, Karen. I know it's really busy during the session, and you know, for taking time to talk to us, and hopefully we can grow this project and, you know, get some advocates out there supporting the bills that we need to have passed.
Of course, anytime you guys need anything, just let me know. I'm here. This is literally my job. So anything that you need, please count me in. I love doing this. I've been doing it for years. So use me if you have any questions. Please call me, email me. I'd love to chat with you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right, so
thanks everybody. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you, it was great.
Thank you.
once again, you can watch for the email tomorrow with the link to the video of this. And you can feel free to pass it along to any of your friends and neighbors and groups or whatever. So from NDTDW, good night.
Good night.
Okay.